Hi and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be giving this neglected Volkswagen Beetle a new lease of life. As we can see, the previous owners decided to try and do some minor paint repairs, or spray 3/4 of the car, with aerosol cans to cover up stone chips, and as we look down the side of the panel, saw these bush scratches. There's evidence of someone trying to clean the roof with a jet wash, that's why it's got those funny marks on there, and it's generally grubby in general, so the engine bay, things like the filler cap, the wheels, and also the interior could all do with a bit of a deep clean. So a good place to start on this vehicle is the engine bay, things like the door shuts as well, and the filler cap. So what I'm going to do here is spray some all-purpose cleaner on it, probably diluted to about 5:1, it's a little bit stronger for an engine bay. Agitate this with a small detail brush, and then we'll just simply rinse it off. And as per my previous videos, you could put a dressing on here while it's still a bit wet and damp, or you could simply let it dry out and then apply it afterwards. It's just personal preference really. Onto the filler cap area, so just giving this a good scrub and making sure we remove all the dirt before we jet wash it off. Also worth noting, most filler cap areas, especially on the Volkswagens, Mercedes, Beamers, etc., they do have a little drain plug in there, and if that can get fouled up, the water's not going to drain correctly, so it's important to make sure that's free flowing. Onto the roof, nothing too aggressive. All I've done is put some all-purpose cleaner on here and then agitated that with a little nail brush because they're quite stiff and they'll get in between the grain and the fabric and just loosen off all that green sort of lichen and stuff and things like that, which has amalgamated over the years. So once the interior is fully vacuumed, we can now look to clean the plastics and the leather, etc. I've diluted the all-purpose cleaner down to 10:1, and as you can see, just apply it, agitate it with a brush, but then I use a damp microfiber cloth just to remove the residue. Once that's complete, I'll introduce an airline, which is great for drying the plastic, and it'll also blow out any of the little bits of water or residue out of the crevices as well. After that's done, I'm going to use some Aerospace 303, and I use that to dress all the plastics inside the car and the seats, etc. So another thing we're going to address is the top of the door cards painted the same as the body of the car, and it's looking a little bit weathered here, so I've just got a micro polisher out. We can use that to buff the surface up and just bring it back to a nice deep shine again. So what I've done here is attack the paintwork with some paint thinners. Sometimes if you're lucky, it will remove the aerosol off the top of the original paintwork, as we'll see on the cloth here as it's gone black. But unfortunately, underneath the paintwork, they keyed up some of the areas to obviously try and get the aerosol to adhere to the paintwork better, and they've damaged the existing paintwork, or original paintwork I should say, so I've had to wet sand it. In other areas they'd also sprayed lacquer onto the bodywork and it was just like concrete, so the only way to remove it was by wet sanding. So initially I've used 2000 grit sandpaper, then gone to 2.5. From there I'm using a Rupes Miele dual action polisher, which has got forced rotation because it's gear driven. I've used a Chemical Guys yellow hex cutting pad, and I would have used a Koshchemi H9 compound to cut these panels back. And as we can see, it's pretty quick at restoring the shine to the panel. Now, understandably, you're going to have to go over these 3 or 4 times and go over with a finishing compound at the end, but as we can see on the camera, it really does bring the panel back up almost to a new finish. And the sad thing is, this car, when my customer bought it, looked like it needed a respray at £2,000, which was just uneconomical. And in reality, underneath all this spray can was just stone chips and light scratches. If the vehicle had been initially taken to a detailer or a valeter to start with, and just been buffed, it would have probably removed the majority of it. And funnily enough, I got a backhanded compliment last week. I put a short out of a postal van I did, and people were saying in the comments, oh, it's been resprayed, where it hadn't. So I've taken this one outside, and you can see we're obviously done the back end of it and the front end of it and left the door. It hasn't been resprayed, obviously it's just been cut back and polished, and it's really good at showcasing what's possible. You can't always save everything, but you can make a pretty dramatic improvement if you just put a bit of time and effort into it. So with the vehicle back in the workshop, I've obviously rectified that last door and improved it, and now I can go around touching the wheels, apply some tyre dressing, even the little wheel nut covers, that they become a bit faded, so I've taken them off, resprayed them with some satin black just to tidy them up, put them back on the car. I've also mixed up some correct paint for the vehicle as well, and I'm just going to touch in things like scuffs on the bumper, door edges, stone chips on the bonnet, etc. And with the car outside, we can now do a before and after, and it's pretty dramatic. It's amazing what 2 days has done for this car. Its value was probably £400 or £500, and it was a scrapper really, and now it's probably got a value of about a couple of £1,000. So it's made a dramatic improvement and saved this car from an early trip to the scrapyard. And from memory, it had only done about, I think, 70,000 miles, so it's got plenty of life left in it. You'll notice when I pan round to the passenger side, it's still got quite a few dents in there. That's something a paintless dent removal guy will come in and he'll probably improve that by about 90 to 100%, depending on where the crash bars and things behind the doors and the panels are. But as I say, it's got some obvious dents there. I haven't tried to hide that, but once the PDR technician's done his magic, it'll be pretty much removed. The engine bay wasn't the worst I've seen, nor was the interior, but with a bit of a deep clean it obviously improves them greatly and just looks nice for the next person when they buy the vehicle. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week with a rather hairy Vauxhall Vectra.